Greetings, friends and neighbors. Today I'm back with that age-old question, or have you ever wondered? I certainly have wondered, and I thought more about it today as I was playing with thumbnails and looking at records and trying to find a record in my collection. Why do we collect records? We all have our own personal reasons, but why do we as a whole, as a species, collect records? And I looked it up, and of course there's an answer for everything on Google and AI. The first being pleasure. People may collect things for personal enjoyment. Duh, right? I've been collecting records since I was 12 years old. The first record I ever bought with my own money was probably Jethro Tull Aqualung, seconded by Miles Davis Basic Miles, which is still a really wonderful collection. It's kind of a moody collection, but also very light in places. It's on Columbia, has a photo of a winding road. Miles, oh yes. I tell you, some of the branding habits of late 50s, 60s, early 70s Mad Men was pretty hilarious. I'd say things have improved since then because they have a better knowledge of what we like and how our brains work. So better for them, probably worse for us. But pleasure, duh. Learning. Now that's the great thing about old jazz records. They have beautiful liner notes on the back while you're listening to the music and read the liner notes. And it's also interesting, all the Blue Note stuff, which has the most copious liner notes, they're very well written. Gary Giddens, Ira Gittler, Leonard Feather, Michael Kuskuna. These guys were very erudite, educated individuals, and they knew how to write. Back in the day, I think many people knew how to write. I remember when I used to work at law firms, we would read first-year attorneys' drafts. They were a mess, but anyway, that's another story. So we all do learn a lot because you can read, and just by listening, I think just by listening to music, listening to jazz, I think it expands your consciousness, whether you know it or not. I think in very subtle ways, music is something I believe we still don't really understand how it works, why it works. I remember once interviewing Pat Metheny, and somehow we got into these sort of psychological questions, and he said, what is music? What is it exactly that affects us? We know it's melody, harmony, rhythm, but the actual sound of music and the way it affects us, you could go on that forever. And it's weird, young people like aggressive music, metal, hammering music. It's funny, I just reviewed this amazing turntable, EMT 928-2, and I was playing the Beatles. I saw her standing there, an original British parlophone, and I had never heard Paul McCartney's bass like that. It turned the song into like a punk rock song. His bass was so powerful and pointed and leading. So it's just interesting the way even the way we hear records. I asked John DeVore, we were in conversation a couple weeks ago, you know, we all our ears are shaped differently. Does that mean we all hear differently? And John said, no, we all hear the same thing. Otherwise, no one would be able to mix a record. Anyway, I digress. Status. Now, this is something that is definitely happening in vinyl circles, or even in investment circles. I see it here at the Jazz Record Center when people spend thousands of dollars on one record, or $10,600 as they did on the first copy of Blue Train. That's a status symbol. That's an investment. Who knows if they play it? It's interesting. It'd be interesting to email. There's about 30 people who buy all these records here at the Jazz Record Center on the auctions. It'd be interesting to email them and say, do you actually ever listen to these records? I think some of them do, because they have particular buying trends. Some people buy only the free jazz, some buy only the Blue Note soul jazz. It's interesting, but there's definitely an investment craze to vinyl because it's become so popular, and it's catching up to things like baseball cards, which are highly collectible, as things you can invest in it. And as I mentioned before, if you see a first pressing Blue Note with like that really bold 3-color artwork, it's shocking. They are works of art even before you play the records. Loyalty. People may collect things to show loyalty to a team. I don't think that counts among us jazz record collectors. Investment. People may collect things as a financial investment, hoping they will increase in value over time. And like any investment, it could go up, it could go down. But I don't think vinyl records will ever go down because they're finite. Those first pressings on Prestige, Blue Note, Columbia, New Jazz, ESP, they only made them one time. They're not making them again. And as I've cited many times before, a new reissue does not, a new reissue is a new thing. A first pressing of a jazz record that's valuable will only go up in value. They're not making any more of them. It's like a 1964 Mustang. They could go in and retool it, call it a modern Mustang, but it's still not an original Mustang. Comfort. People who are more anxious may collect things they find comforting or to help them cope with distress. Now that's really fascinating, I think. Who doesn't buy a record to make them feel better or to put them in a different mood? I think music may have more power than any other art form to really change your psychological status in the moment, where your emotions are. I can feel bad and I can either put on a record that makes me sad, like I think one of the saddest songs of all time is Miles Davis' Blue and Green, written by Bill Evans off of Kinda Blue. That song just, wow, it's desolate to me. It's beautiful, but it's desolate. Then you have those amazing solos by Coltrane and Bill Evans. But then if you want to get happy, you can play a different Cannonball Adderley record. Here's a guy who could play beautiful, joyous, and stark, but also play upbeat, cranking, so music performs all these things for us, and it can accompany us when we're feeling bad, and it can lift us out of a bad mood. Community. Collections can provide a basis for community and communication and a way to connect with others. I definitely see that on my Facebook, JazzVinylLovers. I hope you can join. People from all over the world posting their collections. That's also a place to learn about jazz. All these different things intertwining. Identity. Collections can be a mechanism of self-identity. Is that true? Do our record collections brand us as a certain type of person or as a certain listener? I guess they certainly do. People associate me with jazz records, and I'm glad they do. Habit. People may be drawn to a genre and develop a habit of collecting, without a doubt. How often have you gone to a record store? You don't need any records. You're not planning on buying any records. You're floating into the store and kind of, hey, I'm just going to check out some records. I'm not going to buy anything, though. And boom, you walk out with 10 records. That can take your entire day. You go to the record store, you go to several record stores. I'll do that often on days I don't have to work. I'll walk over to Stranded on East 5th. Then I'll walk down to Ergot on East 2nd. Then I might walk up to Academy on East 11th or 10th it is. And if I'm feeling adventurous, I'll get in my car and drive out to Human Head. Or Billy's Record Salon, the most exciting new record store in Manhattan. You got to check out Billy's, man. It's the blast.